Hello, everybody, and welcome to Paul Travel's virtual travel escape series. Thank you so much for joining us today and spending a little bit of time along with us doing a little travel daydreaming. I personally think it's always a great time to think about where one wants to go on their next vacation, what kind of experiences you want to do, just, where you might be inspired to experience a new adventure or a new destination or just somewhere fun. So we're really hoping that you are ready to learn about new places, maybe places you've never been before, or you'd like to take a visit, or perhaps you're just taking a little trip down memory lane. Maybe being thankful for some of the places you've been to and you like to revisit them and it brings up all those wonderful memories. Being thankful, we're getting close to Thanksgiving, so it's always good to kind of tie that in. I'm Rhonda Swean, the leisure manager at Paul Travel, and co-hosting with me today is Julie Bekdash. Hello, Julie.
Hi everyone.
Julie and I really can't thank you all enough for joining us or following along with us really over the last 22 weeks. It's been a lot of fun. We've had wonderful feedback and great comments from you guys. Really it's a great big world out there, and really Julie and I are going to continue on showcasing different countries and cultures and experiences. So, thank you for coming along with this great ride. Also, if you have any suggestions at all on places that you might want to see us showcase, there's lots out there and we are open. So please, send an email to myself or Julie. Let us know if there's a place you want us to, do a webinar on, and we're happy to do that. So it'd be great to hear from you. Next week, we are going to be visiting Belgium, which is great. So that's October 15th, the same time at 4 p.m. Edmonton time. So you can sign up on the Paul Travel website, or you can do so on one of our weekly email newsletters. So for today, we're going to be bringing you the popular city of Vancouver. I know it's such an amazing city to visit. I think we've all either been or have, thought about going to Vancouver. It's really close for us, perfect little weekend getaway, or what the heck, go this winter, stay a little bit longer. So I think even if we have been, it's nice to learn about what's new. Perhaps there's things we haven't even thought about doing there. So I think this webinar is going to be really exciting and good fun. I'm going to turn it over to Julie. Julie, I know you've probably been a million times to Vancouver.
I have been a bunch of times, like one time before a cruise, and then I was just remembering we went when the Olympics were on. We flew in the first thing in the morning and then left and then came back that evening and just had a full day there. It was amazing. Yeah, and it was the last two falls I was in Vancouver, so I'm just reminiscing about some of the times I had with friends. So yeah, I love that city.
So nice.
Yeah, always something new to do. So yeah, we're so pleased to have Krista Alcazar with us today from Tourism Vancouver. She's born and raised in Vancouver, and she's been working with Tourism Vancouver for 10 years. She was sharing with me her she's currently doing her master's through Royal Roads while working at this job, and it's keeping her busy, but so Vancouver through and through. So let us know, what is your favorite cafe or experience or restaurant in Vancouver when you go out?
Oh, well, thanks first of all for having me. It's great to be here today to chat with you guys and share my home city with everyone. Hopefully you'll get some great ideas and inspiration of what you can do in Vancouver. There's lots of great experiences in the city, many of which I'll get through today, but if I had to pick a restaurant, that one's really hard because there's so many amazing restaurants in Vancouver. But one of the ones I love to go to is called Local, which is in Kitsilano, right near Kitsilano Beach. And it's just kind of a fun, casual place that locals go to. They've got even like great Caesars and, great local food. And they've actually opened a second location in Gastown. So now there's two options you can choose from. And I'll go through some of the neighborhoods in the presentation today to give you some more ideas about that.
Perfect, thanks.
All right, well, I guess we'll go ahead and just share my screen with you. So just give me 1 second.
Oh, I missed the ocean. You too. Hey, Rhonda, look at the
Yeah.
picture.
Oh, I know, right? It's just, there's something about being near the water. It's so
Yeah.
soothing.
Yes.
It is. It's just something comforting about it, isn't it?
Yeah, really is.
So yeah, as Julie mentioned, my name is Krista. So I've been working at Tourism Vancouver for 10 years and happy to answer any questions you guys might have at the end of the presentation. So feel free to pop those in the chat and we'll take a look towards the end. So just to start off, I think one of the things that really makes Vancouver unique in Canada and a very popular destination for visitors is that we're this cosmopolitan city situated in nature. So we're surrounded by the Pacific Ocean, we have the mountains right in the city, we're in a temperate rainforest. So that means that people have a really good variety of activities they can enjoy, and many of which are outdoor activities. And it's great right now to get outside, enjoy the fresh air. And so I'll go through some of these experiences that you could think of if you are visiting Vancouver. Now, just a few little ideas in terms of when you're arriving in Vancouver. You know, from Edmonton, you might be just driving in. But if you are flying, when you arrive at the Vancouver International Airport, we actually have a SkyTrain line that connects the airport right into downtown Vancouver. It's called the Canada Line, and it's part of our public transit system. So it takes about 26 minutes, so it's super quick, very easy. There's signage everywhere, you can't miss it. And there are 3 stations across the downtown core. So depending on where you're staying in downtown Vancouver, you should have a station in walking distance. The system's very easy to navigate. You can actually just tap your credit card through it. You don't need to even buy a ticket. They've installed this new system, so that's super easy. If you are staying for an extended period of time, though, you can also buy what's called a compass card, and that's where you can preload your fares onto the card, and you can just tap that card through the system. And then the fares are about $9.25 for an adult, and that's leaving the airport to get into downtown. Just to note, that includes a $5 surcharge that the airport charges. So when you actually go back to the airport, it's only $4.25. So pretty affordable. I usually recommend this if you're just, you know, a couple of people who are traveling together. Maybe you don't have a lot of luggage. This is a great, easy way to get from the airport into downtown. Whereas if you're maybe a family, you've got lots of luggage, maybe you're going skiing and you've brought your skis with you, that's where you might want to look at a taxi as an option. And we do have set fares between the airport and downtown Vancouver with all of the taxi companies. Generally, it takes about 35 to 45 minutes to get from the airport into downtown, depending on traffic. And it's usually about $35 for a fare one way. And then, of course, we also have private charters. So if you prefer to just book a car and keep it super easy and simple, we do have transportation companies that can provide that. The Aero Car Company is the official car service that's stationed at YVR. So that's a very easy one that you could book. And so those are the few options to get into the city. Now, looking at all the different seasons, one of the great things about Vancouver is we have mild weather year round, and we do get 4 distinct seasons. So right now we're in fall, which is generally September through November, and we have all of the colors changing on the trees. All the leaves are oranges and reds and yellows, and it just looks really beautiful. We have a nice mild temperature at this time of year. Although recently it's been quite warm, actually. About a weekend ago, we were in the 20s and it was still gorgeous weather. So sometimes we get lucky and we get a bit of a longer summer into the fall. However, in the evenings, they're typically cooler than you would see, say, in July or August. And then we do get some rainfall at this time of year, but we really love it in Vancouver because it keeps everything green and fresh. So it's always kind of a fresh feeling in the air in Vancouver. As we get into winter, fortunately, we have very mild winters. So the average temperature tends to be about 8 degrees Celsius. It is quite rare to have snow in the city in the wintertime. It does happen on occasion, but usually the temperature warms up and it ends up turning to rain. So it doesn't usually stick around too long. However, we do have snow on our local mountains. So if people want to have the snow experience, that's definitely available. And throughout the winter season, you're just going to get a combination of rainy days and sunny days and maybe some overcast days. So, you know, anything's really possible in the winter time. And then as we get into spring, which is March through May, it's a really beautiful, refreshing time in the city. It's when all the flowers start to bloom. Sometimes we can get a very early spring, and we have our cherry blossom festival that happens. And that's usually towards the end of March, early April. And what's unique about this time of year is that in March is actually some of the best skiing in Whistler. So you can go up and have a ski holiday in Whistler and pair it with a stay in Vancouver and enjoy spring weather right in the city. So you get sort of that winter and spring combination, which is quite unique. And then of course we have our summer, you know, beautiful summers. We get nice temperatures in the 20s. You know, we have lots of beaches throughout the city. So definitely it's a great place to be at that time of year. And it can get quite hot. Sometimes it gets up, you know, 28, 30 degrees Celsius, but still usually quite a comfortable temperature to enjoy. So one of my favorite spots in Vancouver is Stanley Park. And I think all locals love to visit Stanley Park. And of course, visitors usually make a stop at some point. This is a 1,001 acre temperate rainforest, and it's a public park. It's actually 10% larger than New York Central Park. And one of the great things that it has about it is a seawall that goes all the way around the perimeter of the park. So you can kind of see this little pathway in the photo that's going around the forest. So that's a paved cycling path. You can go walking or rollerblading. So one of my favorite things to do is to hop on a bike and actually go cycling through the park. It takes about an hour on average to go all the way around. And it's very leisurely. You can hop off and take pictures. And there's also lots of beautiful trails throughout Stanley Park. So you don't have to stick to the seawall. You can actually go through some of the trails, which are quite nice as well. So as I mentioned, we're really an outdoor city. It's about getting outside and enjoying nature, and you can do things like sailing on the ocean, you can go hiking. We've got lots of great trails on the North Shore Mountains, lots of trails in Stanley Park that I mentioned. We have 10 beaches right throughout the city, and you'll often see people doing outdoor yoga. We have kayaking, canoeing, stand-up paddleboarding. We have 10 beaches throughout the city, so lots of great spots to just grab a picnic and go and sit and enjoy the beautiful views right in the ocean. And then we have very distinct neighborhoods throughout the city. So the first two I'll mention are Chinatown and Gastown, and they are two of our more historic neighborhoods in the city. So Gastown is actually where Vancouver originated. It's where the whole city started. And it's become this really vibrant neighborhood with great boutique shops and cafes and restaurants. It still has the famous steam clock that's always been there. So a lot of people will go to see the steam clock, and it plays the Westminster chimes. So it's a very vibrant neighborhood to explore for sure. And then there's Chinatown, which is the other historic neighborhood. And this neighborhood originated when a lot of people immigrated over from China to help build the railway across Canada. They settled in this neighborhood, and a lot of their businesses were started, and a lot of those have remained over the years. So now it's a really cool neighborhood to go and wander around, and they've got great bakeries, great restaurants. They have some really unique shops that have very unique ingredients that you can use in cooking and medicine. And there's a tour called A Walk Around Chinatown. So you can actually take this walking tour, and they'll walk you through the neighborhood and point out all of these really interesting, fun facts about the neighborhood. So I definitely recommend that if you're visiting. Two other really distinct neighborhoods are Yaletown and the West End. Now, Yaletown is kind of a trendy residential neighborhood. It used to be a warehouse district, and then over the years, the warehouses closed down and they got converted into restaurants. And we have all these great patios now right in the Yaletown neighborhood. So it's very trendy to go there for dinner, for drinks, and just enjoy the evening. And all of the buildings in the area are residential buildings. So people are living in this neighborhood, and they're out walking their dog and going about their day. So it does also have a nice atmosphere to it. And in the West End, this is also a residential neighborhood. It's the one closest to Stanley Park. So they have access to the park as well as English Bay Beach. And there's a street that runs across the neighborhood called Denman Street. And on this street, there are tons of different restaurants, really casual, kind of, different types of cuisine. So, if you want Japanese or Italian or whatever you might be feeling like, there's probably a restaurant on that street with that type of cuisine. So it's also a great little neighborhood to go for a wander and maybe go over to English Bay or something like that. So while we're on the topic of food, I have put together a few recommended restaurants that are always a good hit if you're looking for where to go. Just a mix across all of our neighborhoods, but for example, Blue Water Cafe has been rated as one of the top restaurants in Vancouver for many, many years now. They specialize in seafood and they're located in Yaletown. So if you're looking for kind of an upscale seafood restaurant, that would definitely be the one to go to. We also have a lot of access to fresh seafood in Vancouver. So you'll see kind of the West Coast dining throughout a lot of our restaurants, and that's because we have such easy access to it being right on the ocean. So we get a lot of sushi restaurants, for example. So Minami and Miku, the second ones listed there, those are sister restaurants, and they are high-end sushi restaurants. So I highly recommend if you are into sushi, you definitely should try and go there. So these are a few ideas for you just to think about if you're looking for recommendations, but really, I mean, there's so many different options. You could pretty much try a different type of cuisine every night that you're in Vancouver. And another great option if you're maybe not sure where to go is to do a Vancouver foodie tour. So Vancouver Foodie Tours offers 3 different culinary experiences right in Vancouver. One of them is the 2-hour tasting experience at Granville Island's public market. And I'll talk a little bit more about Granville Island shortly, but it's a huge public market with amazing food. So they pick some of the best vendors and they take visitors to the vendor, and you get to do a tasting and learn about the history of how their business started and what they specialize in. So that's one tour. And then they also have 2 dine around experiences where you actually go into restaurants and you're seated and you do a tasting, then you move to the next location and you have drink pairings as well with the food. So one focuses on the city center, the top restaurants that they've chosen. And then the other one is focused on the Gastown neighborhood that I mentioned earlier. So that one you go into the restaurants in Gastown and they provide some history about the city and sort of fun facts about our food scene as well. Now, since COVID has started, it's kind of presented interesting challenges with, people getting together in restaurants. So the owner of Vancouver Foodie Tours actually started a new branch to her company called Granville Island Delivery Company. And so what she wanted to do is, connect people with Granville Island public market. People were staying home more and trying to avoid going out. So this is a service that now exists that she actually facilitates people buying things from Granville Island and they'll get delivered to their home, but you could also even get it delivered to your hotel if you wanted to, say, organize a picnic and take that and go enjoy the outdoors. You could certainly order things from Granville Island as well. Of course, being a city, we have lots of shopping options. And there's been a lot of emphasis on supporting local brands. So I wanted to make sure to mention some of the companies and the brands that started in Vancouver and that you can find easily as you're shopping throughout the city. We also have a MacArthur Glen Designer Outlet Mall, which is right near the Vancouver International Airport. And this is a great stop if you're looking for some discounts. It's a European designer outlet. They usually offer between 30 and 70% off their regular prices. It's accessible on the Canada line, so you can actually arrive at YVR and then just hop on the Canada line and go, or from downtown. It's accessible as well, and generally they're open between 10 a.m. and 8 p.m. and they have lots of restaurants and cafes as well that you can enjoy while you're visiting. So I mentioned our mountains earlier. We have 3 local mountains. We have Cypress Mountain, Grouse Mountain, and Mount Seymour. And this is a great opportunity for people to go up and do hiking and skiing and snowboarding and all of these outdoor activities. So I'll talk a little bit more about those. But to start off, we have 2 attractions that are actually located right in Grouse Mountain. So the first is Capilano Suspension Bridge Park. And you might have heard of this attraction. It's our oldest paid attraction in Vancouver. Famous for this suspension bridge, but really they've expanded the park. It's now a lot more about pathways into nature. It is a family-owned business, which is great. And they've added a new restaurant on site, which includes local beer, wine, and local dishes that include local ingredients. They have an amazing gift shop as well. If you're looking to pick up any little souvenirs along the way, that one is really good. And they also offer a free shuttle year-round from Canada Place, which is one of the main sort of sightseeing starting points in Vancouver. And so you can actually take the shuttle from there all the way to Capilano, which takes usually about 20 minutes, about a 20-minute drive. And once you arrive into the park, they actually have a story center where they explain the history and the story of Capilano, because it did get passed through a few different families along the years. So they have guides that will do a guided tour that you can join and listen into all of the history about the park. And then they'll take you into their Indigenous feature, where they have one of the largest private collections of story poles in British Columbia. So it's pretty cool to learn about the West Coast Indigenous culture that we have in Canada. So you'll get to experience that. Then you would actually cross the main big bridge. And on the other side, they've built Treetop Adventures. And this is a series of 7 mini suspension bridges high up in the trees. You get a completely different perspective in the forest. It's super cool to kind of walk through all of the different trees and see the different viewpoints in the forest. And they also have something called the Rainforest Explorer program for kids. They would pick up their Rainforest Explorer kit, and they have questions they have to answer as they explore the forest. And then on the way out, as you're leaving Capilano, they would receive a Rainforest Explorer badge for having completed the tasks. That's kind of fun if you're bringing any kids with you. And then they also have their latest addition, which is Cliff Walk. And this is a narrow walkway cantilevered to the side of the cliff, overlooking the Capilano River. And the focus for this attraction is really about the power of water. Many years ago, this canyon was carved by glacier water that passed through. And so it emphasizes the power of water, the importance of water in the area. So there are some educational components to it as well as you're walking along the path. But also gives a completely different perspective in the park. And then of course, we're coming up on Christmas, coming up in December. So we do have Canyon Lights, which is the annual Christmas light up that they do throughout the park. And they add millions of lights throughout all of the attractions. And this will be happening for the month of December this year. And it's everywhere throughout Treetops Adventure, on Cliff Walk. All the trees throughout the park include Christmas lights. It looks quite spectacular, and they keep the park open later. So it usually stays open till about 9 p.m. I usually recommend arriving at the park before the sun would set, so you can see the park in daylight. And then as the sun sets, then all the lights turn on and you get to see everything at night with everything lit up. Now, just 5 minutes up the road from Capilano, we have Grouse Mountain, the peak of Vancouver. So this is a year-round attraction, in addition to being one of our local mountains in the city. So you actually take the sky ride up from the base of the mountain to the top. In the photo on the right-hand side, that's the sky ride. From the main area where you enter Grouse Mountain, there's also chairlifts that take you up further up the mountain. So sort of 2 components to going up if you want to do both. And one of the main attractions between May and October is the 2 resident grizzly bears that live there named Grinder and Kula. Now Grinder and Kula were both found as orphan cubs separately. They're not related, but they're found around the same time. And usually a bear cub found without its mother probably wouldn't survive in the wild, so they didn't know what should we do with them. And Grouse Mountain said, well, we kind of have a lot of land here. What if we actually gave them sort of a refuge habitat and try to help them grow and see if we can maybe re-release them? Well, they weren't really able to re-release them because they got used to people. But they have this amazing 5-acre habitat with tons of room to roam around. And they've been there now about 19 years. So they're pretty much living a good life as a grizzly bear at Grouse Mountain. And they have ranger talks where they educate people about grizzly bears and other types of bears as well. And you get really close views of them. It's quite spectacular to see a grizzly in a safe way, very close up. And they also have an experience called Breakfast with the Bears that runs between May and October. So with breakfast with the bears, you would actually go up in the morning and they have a yurt set up right next to the habitat. They offer a buffet breakfast, and the ranger explains how they usually do the feedings for the bears, because they actually make the bears forage for their food themselves. So they hide all of the food in the habitat and the bears have to look for it. So this is a great opportunity to really see the bears and learn about them, and also enjoy a lovely breakfast in the morning. Another addition that Grouse Mountain added recently is their aerial ropes adventure. So this is like a jungle gym up in the trees that you can climb. There's a version for adults as well as for younger children. So lower to the ground, of course, for the small ones. But this is quite fun. You can kind of climb through the trees. So just another addition, another option you can do when you're visiting Grouse Mountain. And then we also have a 5-line zipline course at Grouse. So this is really fun. It's a 2.5-hour experience. You can go ziplining side by side in tandem, and you have a guide that goes with you the whole way. You do some smaller lines to start, just to get you kind of warmed up for the zipline experience, and then you can go on the big line as well, which is quite exciting and, you know, gets your adrenaline going. They also have other programs going on throughout the summer months, which are their Birds in Motion, where they have different birds such as owls, and they'll do sort of educational talks about them, and, you know, letting people know all the different facts about these animals. And then they also have their lumberjack show, and this is meant to be more of a comedy where 2 lumberjacks are competing against each other, and it's sort of a fun, family-friendly experience, and that show runs throughout the day. They've added some trails for mountain biking as well. So if you're into mountain biking, that's an option up at Grouse Mountain. And then the photo you see on the right-hand side is the Eye of the Wind. So this is a big wind turbine, and you can actually see it from downtown Vancouver up on the mountain. So it's a huge wind turbine. It does work. It actually can power enough energy to power 100 homes for a year. And it has this view pod right at the top. So you actually take an elevator from the bottom of the turbine up the middle, and you come out into this 360-degree view pod. And it's pretty much the highest point you can go in Vancouver, and you get amazing views from up there. Now, of course, we do get the snow on the local mountains. So if you wanted to try skiing or snowboarding, or maybe you want to go tubing with your family, we have all of those kind of activities that happen throughout the winter months. And I think one of the things that's unique about skiing or snowboarding in Vancouver on our local mountains is that as you're going down the hill, you have the views of the city in front of you. And that's quite unique. Usually when you're in a resort or something, you don't have a city right in front of you. So this is something very unique. And we also have night skiing. So the ski hills actually stay open until about 10 o'clock at night. So it's very popular with locals to go up, say after work, they bring their gear, go, you know, do a few runs until 10 o'clock and then go home kind of thing. So this is something that you could do as well if you're visiting in the wintertime and would like to try some night skiing. They also added a light walk, which is meant for snowshoeing, or you can just go for a walk along it with beautiful lights. They've lit up a whole pathway through the forest. It looks quite beautiful, and you can also try snowshoeing tours as well if you'd like to have more of a guided experience. And they still offer the zip lining in winter as well. They do reduce it from 5 lines to 3 lines because there's a couple that are harder for them to access when it has snowed. But you can certainly do zip lining as well, and it's a very different view during the winter time when you can see all of the treetops covered in snow. And then there are different dining experiences. So they have everything from a grab-and-go coffee bar to a cafeteria style, sort of casual eatery, to more of a pub restaurant style. And then they have the observatory, which is a fine dining restaurant. So, you know, whatever you're kind of fancying, they have something up there for you. And then back in the city, we have Granville Island Public Market. And I kind of mentioned this already with the Vancouver Foodie Tours. It's a really unique spot in Vancouver where we have the huge public market, all local vendors selling their own food items. But you also have other businesses on the island. So it's really the theme is food, theater, and art. So you have lots of local artisans with their own boutique shops, and they make all of their handmade products right there in their shop. And then you have different theater performances happening. Lots of different artists will come and visit Granville Island. So, you know, it's kind of this cultural hub right in the city. It's definitely one of my favorite spots to go to just to grab some food. And they have this huge dock outside where you can sit right by the water and look at the views of the ocean and downtown as well. So it's definitely a must visit if you're coming into town. And then just by Canada Place, we have Flyover Canada. And this is a virtual flight ride experience. It goes from the East Coast to the West Coast. You see 17 different landscapes across Canada. You experience all 4 seasons. So it's a 3D experience with extra sensory effects. So you feel wind, you'll have mist as you're going over Niagara Falls, for example. And it's a 30-minute experience in total, including a pre-show, as well as the 8-minute flight ride experience. They also do other seasonal features. So for example, right now we have a Halloween feature on until November 1st called Howl Over Canada. And they've added in some fun sort of characters and weaved in the Halloween theme for this particular feature. And then they do their Christmas feature, which will start on November 10th. And in this feature, the pre-show was changed and basically Santa has lost his reindeer and he needs help for the guests to find them. So you go on this flight across Canada looking for them. And at the very end, you actually fly over the North Pole in addition to flying across Canada. So that's kind of a special one if you happen to be visiting during the time frame that it's on. We also have a lot of great galleries that you can go and explore, a lot of local Canadian art. Bill Reid Gallery is right in the city center of Vancouver. And he was a famous hideout artist from Victoria. And he was a master goldsmith. He did lots of carvings. He was a sculptor as well as a writer. So he actually has a lot of his work on display in this gallery, and beautiful jewelry, story poles, lots of great different pieces of art. So this is a great one if you're looking to check out some local art. And then we also have the Museum of Anthropology. And this is located out at the University of British Columbia. So it's outside of downtown, but very close. They have collections of pieces from all over the world. It's really fascinating. The amount of pieces they have is just endless. And so if you're really into sort of, you know, pieces from around the world, I would definitely recommend this museum. And they also have a beautiful First Nations gallery where you can see some of the local carvings that some of the Indigenous people have carved over the years and donated to the museum. And then in the city center, we have our Vancouver Art Gallery. And so the art gallery is great because it always has new exhibits coming through. So the one that's on right now is called Modern in the Making, which is on until January 3rd. They also have features from local artists. So for example, Emily Carr, who's from Victoria, BC. She has lots of her paintings on display, so you can see those. So if you happen to just be kind of wandering downtown and want to see some beautiful art, this is a great spot right in the city center. And then we have a unique attraction called the Dr. Sun Yat-sen Classical Chinese Gardens. And this is like a little oasis right in downtown Vancouver. It's in the Chinatown neighborhood. And it's the only Ming-style Chinese garden built outside of China at the time that it was built. And they actually brought over all of the pieces from China to build it. All of the pieces that were used to build it have different meanings. So I highly recommend taking advantage of the free tours they offer in the attraction. So when you go in, you can just kind of join along one of the tours that run regularly through the day. And they explain the meaning and how they built it. It's really quite fascinating. And it's just very peaceful there, right in the city. You don't even know you're in the city while you're in the gardens. And then in the winter time, we have our Vancouver Christmas Market, which is located right at Canada Place, and lots of great vendors and beautiful Christmas gifts and things like that that you can buy, as well as food items. So this has been very popular over the last few seasons. This year, unfortunately, they're not going to be open, but they will be reopening next year. So winter 2021, they will be back. So this is if you happen to be traveling next year, that's something you could try as well. And then we have Van Dusen Botanical Gardens, which do a Festival of Lights. So this is for the month of December, and they light up the whole gardens with beautiful lights. It looks amazing. So it's just a fun activity you can do in the evening. Go for a wander through the gardens, and it's quite spectacular. You know, there are also other options like helicopter tours. Maybe you have a special occasion that you're celebrating. Maybe you just want to do something really unique. We have a company called Sky Helicopters, and they can do some really unique packages that take guests on a tour above Vancouver, and then they can actually land next to a glacier lake. They even do a beer tasting tour where they've developed their own craft beer, and you'll land right in the middle of nature and you can do a beer tasting. So really unique experiences if you're looking for something different. And then we have Harbour Air, which is our float plane company. And this is very iconic for Vancouver. If you've ever been, you'll probably remember seeing float planes landing and taking off. So this is also a great opportunity to do either a panorama sightseeing tour above Vancouver, or using their service to connect with other areas in British Columbia, because they also fly to Victoria, to Nanaimo, some of the other Gulf Islands. And they also offer some really unique packages, such as a fly and dine, where you do the float plane experience, and then you have a 3-course meal at a restaurant on Bowen Island, and then they provide transportation back to your hotel. So, you know, if you are celebrating a special occasion, that could be another great option as well. And then, of course, being right in nature, we have some amazing scenery that you can get out on the boat and explore. There's a company called Sewell's Marina Sea Safari, and they do a 2-hour Zodiac boat ride in the Howe Sound area. And it's a very scenic area, lots of great wildlife viewing, and that operates between May and October. It's not so much whale watching, although sometimes people have seen whale watching or whales, but they often see different types of birds, definitely seals, dolphins, so lots of different types of wildlife. Now, a lot of people wonder, okay, so I'm gonna go to Vancouver, where should I stay? You know, there's lots of different hotels, which one should I choose? And really what I would say is the downtown core of Vancouver is very compact. So you can actually walk from one end of the downtown area to the other in about 30 to 45 minutes. So no matter where you're staying, you're really close to everything. We do have a variety of hotel options ranging from 3, 4, 5 stars, depending on what you're looking for. I would say the main thing to look for or to decide is, do you want to have a water view? Because there are hotels that are closer to the waterfront with views of the ocean and the mountains, or do you prefer more of a city center property? That could determine where you want to stay, but really everything is within walking distance and is very close. Now, if you wanted to have more of a longer term stay, there are lots of hotels that offer, for example, kitchens in the room. So the residence at Sutton Place, Vancouver is a great option. It feels more like an apartment. You have your own kitchen, you can have multiple bedrooms, and that's located right in the city center. Carmana Plaza is another great option. That one is like an apartment as well. That hotel does not have any other facilities. There wouldn't be like a restaurant on site, but it's right next to all the restaurants right in downtown Vancouver. So not really necessary. And there's a grocery store as well right next to the hotel. Also the Delta Vancouver Downtown Suites is a great property. It's an all-suite hotel that's been renovated. So a beautiful property. Not far from Waterfront Station. And then you have L'Hermitage Hotel, which is closer to the Yaletown neighborhood. Also a fantastic hotel offering the kitchen, multiple bedrooms, depending if you need 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom. And then we have Rosedale on Robson Suite Hotel, which is more of a mid-range hotel. It's really a great option for families and a nice location that's sort of between the city center and Yaletown. And it's actually a walking distance from the Yaletown SkyTrain station. And then we have the Sheraton Vancouver Wall Center, and I wanted to mention this hotel as well. First of all, it's the largest hotel we have in the city, but they have something unique called their Family Suite, which actually includes, it's a 2-bedroom suite, but one of the bedrooms actually has 2 double beds. So it can be great for, you know, multi-generational travel if you have your kids and maybe grandma's coming and everybody wants their own bed. It just gives more options and more value for booking 1 room. So that's a nice recommendation as well. So when you're packing to come to Vancouver, what should you pack? Well, definitely layers is the best way to go. You know, our weather is quite mild, and you could get sunny in the afternoon, or it could start off raining and then change partway through the day. So you want to be prepared wearing different layers, bring a light rain jacket, have comfortable shoes for walking outdoors. Of course, we're an outdoor city. Sunglasses and sunscreen, even in the winter time. There's been times where I've gone up to Grouse Mountain and it's like beautiful sunshine. So having the sunglasses is really handy. You know, hat in the summer, toque in the winter. Of course, if you're going to be in the snow, you might want to bring some warmer snow gear. And most hotels have umbrellas in the hotels, either in the rooms or in the lobby to borrow. So you don't have to worry about bringing an umbrella if it's a rainy day. And don't forget your mask as well. Right now, businesses are kind of implementing it on their own basis. So some companies do require that you wear a mask right now and some don't. So just be prepared and bring one just in case. So that wraps up the presentation today. Thank you so much for your time and for inviting me to come and chat with you guys. Now we'll see if there are any questions.
Thank you so much, Krista. It's so fun that you get to live in a place that people come to holiday and vacation. Yeah, that's so nice. And I love your suggestions. I love the option of the possible like long stay, just, you know, it's a short, you know, hop, skip and a jump from Alberta over and just to escape the snow. Maybe for a couple weeks, I think would be really nice, and just experience life in Vancouver. No shortage of things to do indoor or outdoor. So that's wonderful. I don't see any questions. Just a reminder, if anybody is looking for any of our recorded webinars, if you want to go back and see that list of restaurants that Krista mentioned, you can go back onto the paultravel.com/webinars website anytime and look at any of our past webinars, or revisit this one or send it to a friend. Is there anything, Rhonda, I'm not sure that you want to mention?
No, Krista, that was really informative and really detailed. There's so many great little suggestions that you made, little tips of places and things to do, that I think it was a great help for everybody. I know for myself, that was excellent. So I don't have any questions.
Perfect. Okay, sounds good. Well, again, thank you, Krista, for joining us. Thank you to all our attendees again for being with us today, and wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks, Krista.
Thanks for having me.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.